Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December meeting of the Town of Milton Planning Board. Ms. Marin, would you please lead us in the pledge to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, just a couple of announcements. First, this is our last meeting of 2024. So we'll be kicking off a new year with our next agenda and look forward to the upcoming holidays and everything for everybody. I'd note that the next meeting of the Comprehensive Plan Committee is on January 7th at 6:30 p.m. The subject of that meeting will be the town's zoning and land use controls. And this will be the last kind of issue-focused topic. We've done 8 of these, Mary Beth, I think. Each month has been devoted to a topic. Last month was transportation. We'll be doing land use and zoning in December or January. And we're then going to switch to starting to look at goals, strategies, actions that need to be going on forward. So we're going to have a public session. I'm not sure if it's going to be February or not, but it'll be shortly after that, presenting how did the issues come out, and then what will be the next steps, and how can we get the public engaged and helping to set those goals and whatnot. So that's all my announcements that I have. Our first order of business this evening is approval of the November 11th meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the planning board meeting minutes from November 13th.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
2024. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And these, any discussion or changes to the minutes?
I would like to make one if it's true.
Sure.
On page 9,
Okay.
third line down, after it says Chairman Bartow, and it talks about complying with seeker. Is that the Harry Potter seeker? Is that a seeker?
Oh, it should be SEQRA. Does it say SEEKER?
SEEKER.
Well,
Okay, that's it.
so noted with that change. We need another motion and second,
You can just accept it.
or accept the change.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. With that amendment, please poll the board.
Mr. Marsicano?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza?
Yes.
Mr. Whittle?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Marin?
Yes.
Chairman Bartow?
Yes. At this point, we'll open the meeting for public comment. Please note that we do have 3 public hearings this evening. The first on a site plan for a mixed-use development at Milltown Center. The second for a special use permit and site plan at 2124 Doubleday Avenue for a marijuana dispensary. And the third at 272 Stone Church Road, a major subdivision. So if you have comments on those projects, please wait to get them on the record. But otherwise, we continue to have both virtual. Thank you, Amanda, for getting that hooked up last minute. And in-person opportunities for comments. So I'd ask if you're Zooming with us and you want to make a comment, please use the hand wave feature. I'd also ask that individuals limit their comments to 3 minutes, and for commenters, try and avoid redundant comments. If you have written comments, please summarize them. And if you'd like, you can leave us a copy and we'll circulate them to the full board. With that, I will open the general public comment period at 7:03 p.m. Is there anybody that'd like to address the board? Please come up, introduce yourself, your address.
Morning, Cleary, 22 Encore Drive. We moved to our forever home in December of 2023 to be closer to our son and his family. We envisioned them playing in our backyard with the woods behind us. Now we awaken with watching the sun rising, squirrels and birds frolicking in our backyard, and deer too. The board was concerned enough to visit our property and were able to envision a 4-story apartment building directly behind our home. And I want to thank you for taking that time to walk our property. We also paid a premium for our lot, and we're told no one could build behind us because it was wetlands and conservation area. Please keep us, your residents, in mind when deciding what belongs in our neighborhood. Legal does not make it right. Wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the board at this time? Is there anybody online that would like to address the board?
No hands.
Okay.
Oh, I have a hand.
Do we wait for each topic or is this the only topic?
No, you'll be able to comment on the 3 public hearings, as I mentioned. So at the site plan for mixed-use development in Milltown Center, the special use permit for 2124 Doubleday Avenue, a marijuana dispensary, and subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road. So there'll be public comment times for those. But if there's something else you want to raise with the board, now's the time to do that.
John?
Yep.
Can you speak?
Hi, John Quinn, 20 Encore Drive. Couple comments about the mixed use Doubleday Avenue project. I appreciate the continued look at privacy on landscape buffers, and even if they've kind of rotated the parking. I mean, I think the thing that we're going to still think through is how much space these trees are going to get. Are they going to encroach because they're not, which is not a legal thing, I know, but how much space do they need to grow to the width that they expect them to grow to? A big concern again is water, right? Where is this water? Where does it rest on the surface? Even their own contractors have noted in pictures that they've uploaded that there is large amount of standing water behind the clearies. So those are some of the comments that I'd like to bring up, but I appreciate the continued look at the town code with respect to privacy for neighboring properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Any last minute public comment at this point? There being none, I will close the public comment period at 7:06 p.m. Our first project this evening will be the continued public hearing and site plan review for the Milltown Center project. Mr. Danable, do you have any updates for the board at this time?
Very briefly, we've seen
And
this
Bernadette is recusing herself at this point.
Okay, again, just for the record, Joe Danable, Environmental Design Partnership, here on behalf of the Malls Development Company and their application for the Milltown Center mixed-use community. As I said, we've been through multiple meetings with the town since our last meeting. We have gone through the comment letters we received from the town engineer, comments we received from the board. We did provide some updated plans related to phasing, comments related to open space and parks and recs in lieu of fees, response to some comments we heard at the meeting from the last time. And I just wanted to identify that one additional comment we heard later this evening, or earlier in the day, was related to the density on the site. We're 507 units. We actually had a building that was identified as a 4-story building that is always going to be a 3-story building in this location, which would give us that 507. When they did the count, looking at all the buildings, that would have brought us to 520. We're not intending 520. We're intending the 507. That would allow this building closest to the street will be a 3-story building, bringing the mass and scale down from the 4-story buildings in the back to a 3-story building in front, consistent with the streetscape we've been providing. So just want to make sure that's clear and understood.
Okay.
Got a million slides, can go through whatever the town may want to see. But I know we are in the middle of a public hearing that was tabled from the last evening. So if we can continue that, close that public hearing, we'd like to, if the board is ready, we'd like to have the board take action on this application tonight and issue a final approval.
Okay. Does the board have any questions of Mr. Danable at this point? Ms. Biancani, do you have any comments for the board or anyone at this point?
Good evening, everyone. So as Mr. Danable indicated, there's been a lot of information exchanged. The only outstanding comments, there were, I think, 3, and I'll just really quickly run through them. One was the payment in lieu of recreation. There's been some back and forth with respect to that. And I believe the other change on the plans, and maybe Joe, you can point it out, is that there are now pickleball courts on this site.
Yes.
Right there.
Oh,
We had done an analysis, just so everyone's clear here, when we talk about payment in lieu of for recreation, the concept is when you build a residential project, you are adding people, so you are adding a demand on the local parks system, on the town's park system. So to the extent that a developer is providing recreation on site, the payment in lieu means instead of, right? So they're providing some degree of recreation on site. There has to be consideration for the fact that that's being done in terms of the town's fees. So we ran through this the last time. The site includes many amenities. In response to our analysis, the applicant provided some accounting of the value of those amenities. And in response to our discussion regarding the use of hard court surfaces, which are very popular here in town, and there were none on this site, the applicant did add some hard court surfaces, which I think does merit consideration. So we've included a recommendation, again, in conformance with the town law regarding this, for the payment in lieu of recreational fees to be reduced from $2,000 per unit to $1,000 per unit for the board's consideration. There was a discussion about what was called Figure 17 at some point in this long process, which is the phasing plan for the project. One of the things that we wanted to ensure was that in the board making an approval for this project or considering an approval for this project, there was an understanding about what elements of the project are being constructed with each phase. That includes things like landscaping, amenities, the public facilities, the utilities. So that figure has now been updated, and it's actually a different one than the one Joe has up here, but does include notes that describe exactly which pieces of the landscaping get built with each phase, so that the board and the public can understand that particularly the portion of the property that's along Rowland in phase one will be grass and landscaped, so that it's not a moonscape. That was an important part of this. And then the last part of our comments were that in accordance with section 180-56 of the town's code, there's a performance guarantee for improvements on the site. And we did provide some recommended language for the board with respect to the performance guarantee. And we recommended that it is phased as the project rolls out, so that we are matching the improvements to the guarantee. And that was all of our comments.
any questions of the engineer at this point? Yeah, sure.
Just a quick question. The pickleball courts, are they public or private?
They are private.
I have a question about
Sure.
the fees at 1,000 each, 507, that's $507,000. Thank you. Where does that money go? Is it fenced off to the town, or is it part of the general?
That is in a special account of the town to be devoted to recreational capital investments or purchase of lands for
Okay.
recreational activities. That is,
So it's restricted.
Strict-
It's
Okay.
only for Parks and Recreation.
So this project provides $500,000 for the town for parks and recreation.
yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just to add to that conversation, the recreational amenities associated with this project, the clubhouse, the park, the pool, the pickleball courts, the trails, certainly sidewalks can even somewhat thrown in there, but we didn't include that in our estimate. There's over $2 million of improvements associated with this project specifically for the recreational needs of these residents. And that's why we feel there should be a reduction in that fee, because providing these facilities will lessen the burden on the town on their existing and future facilities.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? There being none, at this point, I will reopen the public hearing for the site plan for Milltown Center at 7:14 PM. Anybody that would like to address the board on this? Or anybody online that would like to speak?
Michelle, can you unmute?
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I just wanted to check in and see if, this is Michelle Judah, if the latest updates had included, I think at the last public hearing, I had asked a question about if the phasing for some reason stops and it doesn't complete all the way through the, I think, 3 phases that are planned. Is there any agreement about, cleanup and disposition of areas that are remaining kind of as part of the construction area that are being kind of reserved for construction vehicles and, what you need to do in between those phases?
Joe, I'll let you take the first response on that.
Sure. So that's exactly what myself and Mary Beth were talking about. We are making sure that the plans for each phase are not left as I think moonscape was the terminology. We wanted to have grass and landscaping so that in the event, the unfortunate event, something does occur where this can't be built out, the town is left with open fields that are landscape lawn, maintained as lawn, not a construction site in perpetuity.
And if I may, in addition to that, the stormwater permit for this site will require that you cannot leave open land, you cannot leave dirt, you cannot leave stockpiles that are uncontrolled. The stormwater permit is the backstop for all of that.
Great, thank you. I just wasn't clear with the update as to whether it was talking about what happens between the phases or just the timeline of the phases. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, is there any last chance for comments on this public hearing? There being no further public comment, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing at 7:17 PM.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If not, please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
yes. Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Bartow.
Yes. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the site plan for the Milltown Center Mixed-Use Development Project dated 11/27/24. Can you just verify that's their most recent plan? That's what I got. I needed a,
Materials dated 11/27/24.
that's
The
what,
plan set and referencing the referral has a master date, I believe, of October 30th.
Right.
Individual plan sets within that may have been individually updated, but the master plan set is dated October 30th. Yeah.
the master plan, so I should change this to October 30th?
It's October 30, 2024.
Okay, I wasn't sure of that. Okay, and subject to terms and conditions outlined here, I will summarize these. I'm not going to read 7+ pages of
Forward to you.
conditions. Whereas the Environmental Design Partnership did present for approval on behalf of Multiland Development Company, site plan review approval dated June 22nd, 2023, entitled Milltown Center. The resolves come in phases, so I will start out with the first conditions to be satisfied prior to the signing of the site plan. 1.1, the site plans shall contain an updated revision dates and notations stating planning board approval and the original seals and signatures of the design professional. 1.2, the applicant shall pay to the town of Milton by certified cashier's check, wire transfer, or other method payment deemed acceptable to the town for any outstanding professional review fees and deposit those within the existing escrow account. Number 1.3, applicants shall pay to the town the remainder of the required site plan application fee calculated pursuant to the planning board fee schedule at 5 cents per square foot of gross floor area for the final site plan. 1.4, upon completion of conditions 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, at least 8 sets of the final approved site plan shall be submitted for endorsement by the planning board chairman. Conditions number 2, conditions to be satisfied prior to site development and issuance of any building permits for the project. 2.1, all conditions set forth in section 1 shall have been fulfilled. 2.2, all outstanding engineering comments shall be fully and completely addressed to the satisfaction of the town designated engineer. 2.3, the applicant shall submit a final development phasing plan with adequate descriptions of the intended work improvements construction to be completed in each phase. Well, 2.4, the applicant shall confirm in writing to the planning board the intended water service provider for the project. And the necessary steps to obtain the necessary water and or sewer district services and expansions of service for all the entities having jurisdiction. 2.5, the applicant shall pay to the town a parks and recreation fee in the amount of $1,000 per residential unit. 2.6, the applicant shall submit a final dedication plan stating all the required improvements intended to be dedicated to the town. Such dedication plan shall be approved by the town designated engineer and town attorney. 2.7, all stormwater pollution prevention permits shall be obtained and submitted to the planning board and the town designated engineer. 2.8, all required approvals, permits by federal, state, and local regulatory agencies shall be issued and filed with the planning board and the town designated engineer without limitations, including Saratoga County Department of Public Works, New York State DEC, stormwater and speedies permits, New York Department of Health, public water supply approval, New York's Department of State, New York Building Code variances, if any, to Saratoga County Sewer District, and those pertaining to the applicant's water source and supply. 3, conditions to be satisfied prior to commencement of the work. 3.1, all conditions in sections 1 and 2 of this resolution. 3.2, a site visit shall be conducted with the applicant, contractor, design engineer, architect, code enforcement officer, stormwater pollution prevention administrator for the town, and the town designated engineer. Conditions to be satisfied during construction. 4.1, during construction, the town's consultants may conduct site inspections as necessary to determine compliance with provisions of this resolution. 4.2, a copy of this resolution and approved site plan will be kept on site at all times. 4.3, building construction shall be substantially consistent with the floor plan specifications and elevations referenced. 4.4, the applicant will employ the services of a New York State licensed professional engineer to supervise and inspect site work during construction. 4.5, required periodic stormwater pollution prevention plan inspections must be performed during the permit term by the applicant's engineer and other qualified individuals. Conditions to be satisfied prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. All conditions set forth in sections 1 through 4 of this resolution. 5.2, the code enforcement officer and town designated engineer shall conduct a final site visit to determine substantial conformance to the approved site plans. 5.3, the applicant shall pay to the town of Milton by certified check, cashier check, wire transfer, other method of payment acceptable to the town, all outstanding professional consulting review, inspection, and monitoring fees. 5.4, all improvements shall be completed substantially in accordance with the approved plans, except as provided by conditions of the approval. 5.5, all waste building spoils, such as unused lumber, wire, pipe, or other surplus materials, shall be disposed of in an off-site facility. At the various phases, the seeding and removal of construction pads or temporary construction pads and et cetera shall be maintained and or discontinued until the next phase of the project is started. 5.6, 4 copies of an as-built survey prepared by a licensed land surveyor to the satisfaction of the town designated engineer, demonstrating substantial compliance with the site plan and verifying locations of all buildings, footprints, easements, and site improvements. 5.7, 4 copies of as-built plan to the stormwater management practices associated with the project. 5.8, compliance with landscaping and lighting plans. 5.9, completion in a safe and appropriate manner to the satisfaction of the town designated engineer of all necessary site work, including but not limited to roads, drainage, and parking necessary to serve as a certificate of occupancy to be issued. 5.10, final verification from the applicant that the building for which the certificate of occupancy is to be issued is substantially in accord with the approved site plan described herein. 5.11, prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy, completion of off-site improvements with final written verification from the applicant's engineer that the same were performed. 5.12, the applicant or any succeeding property owner shall execute an agreement with the town, providing that the owner of the project will maintain all public improvements and amenities to be installed as part of the project, including but not limited to sidewalks, roads, parking areas, parks, and sewer systems. The applicant and or the succeeding property owner shall enter into a stormwater facility maintenance agreement with the town. Conditions 6, conditions to be satisfied after the issuance of certificates of occupancy. The owner and or occupant of the property shall cause the property to be used and occupied in accordance with the provisions of the approved site plan. 6.2, the town shall at all times have the right to re-inspect the site if any code enforcement officer has reason to believe the site plan is not in compliance. 6.3, at any time after the issuance of a permanent certificate of occupancy, the code enforcement officer finds that any site plan approval conditions have been violated, the owner and or occupant shall be issued a notice of violation, and the stop work orders may be necessary and given 30 days to either bring the site into compliance or appear before the appropriate town board. 6.4, if having received a notice of violation, the owner fails to correct the violation with the time provided therein, then the code enforcement officer shall issue an appearance ticket. 7, miscellaneous conditions. Required periodic stormwater pollution plan inspections must be performed during the permit by the design engineer and or qualified individual in accordance with the approved plan. Pursuant to Town Code 18056, the applicant shall provide to the town performance guarantee for each approved phase of the development. Such performance guarantee shall be approved and submitted to the town prior to the issuance of building permits?
We can change that if you want.
To certificate of occupancy?
COs.
COs, okay. As each phase of development is outlined in the approved phasing plan. 7.3, all construction activities are to be conducted in accordance with the approved plans and protocols, including without limitation, general construction notes, general notes, water main notes, stormwater notes, grading notes, and area notes. All permits, waivers, and approvals granted herein do not constitute authorization, permission, or approval of any other ancillary non-specified uses, including commercial uses of the property identified in the application. Any questions on those at this point?
The correction, you changed it to CO?
COs,
Okay.
to COs rather than building permits. That was a discussion we had earlier today. Idea being you'd be able to be marketing these things before having to come up.
The letter of credit bill still in. Guarantee.
The guarantee, yes, true. Okay. Joe, any questions?
I don't think so. There was just a couple things that I haven't had the chance to read this.
Yep.
So there's a lot of information to try and process. Item number 2.
Yes.
Those are items prior to.
Site development and the issuance of any building permits for the project.
Okay. Not stamping of things.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. I think that
Okay.
clarifies it.
Do we want to give him a copy?
You can look at it tomorrow.
Okay.
Look at your phone.
Yeah, okay. Okay. With that, I will entertain that motion to approve the site plan and subject to the conditions herein, this resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Little,
I'll second.
all right. Is there any other discussion by the board? If not, please poll the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Miss Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Bartow.
Yes. Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great Christmas present for all of us working on this project.
you. Been a while.
2 years, come a long way, and I think we're gonna have a wonderful project here in town. Looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our next project this evening is 2124 Doubleday Avenue, a special use and site plan for a marijuana dispensary. Is the applicant or their agent? Oh, Jim Marsicano is recusing himself. Bernadette's back up. For an update.
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Dan Morelli with SRG Architects, and I'm representing Jason Woods and Michael Davidson in a request for site plan approval and a special use permit to operate a New York State licensed cannabis dispensary at 2124 Doubleday Avenue, which is located in a commercial mixed-use zoning district and permitted by right with a special use permit. The pre-existing single-story building currently has 3 commercial tenants: E&A Custom T-Shirts leasing the north end of the building, Leaf and Fog Smoke Shop to be renamed Saratoga Vape, leasing the center space, and Rochester Regional Joint Board leasing the south end of the building. The applicant proposes to convert the current smoke shop into a cannabis dispensary and sell cannabis-related products. The existing site currently has paved parking lot with striping, existing stormwater, domestic water, and sanitary services, as well as ample site lighting. Currently, the paved parking lot has parking for all tenants and meets or exceeds the provision for required parking as outlined in the town zoning law. Upon approval from the town, the dispensary will be governed by the New York State Office of Cannabis Management, and the special use permit will be renewed every 5 years. I think we mentioned at the last meeting that the applicant has since, prior to last meeting, received their provisional license and their proximity location protection for the site.
Did we get copies of those? Okay, we did get copies. I thought we did.
So we're here tonight to entertain approval of the site and our public hearing.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a public hearing scheduled for this, so I will open the public hearing at 7:32 PM. Is there anyone that would like to address the board on this project at this time? Please come on up. Yep, come up, state your name and address.
John Cosentino,
Sasha Crowley.
you said address too, or no?
Yeah.
91 Rogers Lane.
And 2 Patricia Lane, Saratoga.
Big surprise the other cannabis people are here.
Nice to see you guys again.
Yes. First of all, we want to say that we support other retailers. We're not against that. Obviously, we were granted permission to open ours and we were supporting that. One thing that we had, or 2 things we wanted to mention. One of the requirements the board may recall of us was that we had a permanent license before we received approval. Fortunately, if you recall, the day we came here, we actually received that permanent license, so it wasn't an issue. So we just want to make sure everybody's on the same playing field and other applicants are being held to the same standard we were, and that you would be looking for a permanent license versus a provisional, because we were unable to get one without having a permanent, unless the board has changed that. We weren't aware.
If you recall, just
Mr. Lewis did.
he did issue a memo that the provisional license did it because you were caught in this catch-22. They weren't going to give you a full license. And so that is correct.
The other issue really for us is an issue of proximity. We're concerned about some of the information that's in the planning review summary that was provided, particularly like the chronological events that occurred around issuances of provisional license and so forth. One of the things that strikes us as being odd is that it mentions that the proximity protection was gained when we vacated the
Russell's Deli.
the Russell's Deli location in the village of Ballston Spa. The thing that puzzles us is that that is not within the proximity area of 2,000 feet. So we're wondering how that would have created that opportunity. This was, I on September 13th, according to the information.
So the Russell's Deli is actually a mile away from Deep in Fog. So it wouldn't have been a conflict with the state as it's over the distance. So that write-up it's not presented accurately.
So, but also at that same time, we had received our provisional protection for 301 North Line, which is, we believe, within the 2,000-foot proximity protection zone. So it appears perhaps that the very thing that the proximity protection is supposed to provide is a situation in smaller towns where we don't have too many dispensaries in too close of an area, that we may in fact have that, not by way of error necessarily on the applicant or anything, but perhaps by omission or error on the state's part. We think the state, as you're all aware, have been struggling getting this whole program going and making a lot of errors. So we actually sent notice by email. We have a copy to the state yesterday asking them to verify that the two locations are not crossed on a proximity basis.
And also to mention in the planning review that it did not mention that we had proximity protection at 201 North Line Road. That was not addressed. It only referred back to 303 Milton. And the distance that we're talking about is a 2,000 square footage area for the dispensary per the population. So the OCM regulation states that if the town's population is under 20,000, the next dispensary has to be over 2,000 square feet.
2,000 feet away. I don't know how that's calculated, but
And we do have the census data for the town of Milton. If you guys want to see it, and also have the email to the state requesting clarification for the proximity based on the population of the town. So if you guys want, I could.
so again, it just, what we're trying to do is make sure we're preserving what the proximity is supposed to do, keep a small town from having two dispensaries basically across the street from each other. And so
And it
what-
did well, we did this as well. So this, I don't know if you guys remember our architect team, Les and Allison. They did provide measurements and the radius that shows that Deep and Fog would fall within that radius.
So I guess our request is that that we could leave this hearing open just to get verification
From the
from the
state.
state that we don't have it. We're not trying to keep anybody from being in business. We welcome other dispensaries, but the whole point of the proximity protection is just that, to not bunch of people in a small town, and they in fact be doing just that.
So we're just respectfully requesting that the planning board just leave the public hearing open until next time, just till we get an answer back from the state. It's just such an email that's needed, but urgent on it. Hopefully we'll hear back soon. But there's a discrepancy. I just want to make sure that, we're not going to do it safe when the town's not making mistakes, so.
Okay, okay, thank you.
I'd be happy to speak to that if you like.
Okay, go ahead. I guess it's just,
So just to be sure that we're referring to everything, the timeline and the information provided was gained from your application that you provided us as well as the applicants. And correspondence that was issued from the Office of Cannabis Management, who indicated, again, with the timeline that 8/6, they indicated that there was provisional license granted for 2124 Doubleday Ave, proximity protection I have for 201 North Line on August 9th for you guys.
Yeah.
And then I have a certificate of licensure for your dispensary, the permit on 9/11. Proximity protection for 2124 Doubleday Avenue for this current location. And as indicated prior, because of the discrepancy in the code that had a hard time delineating between provisional and permit licensure, the code enforcement officer indicated that provisional licensure was acceptable until such time that permanent license was secured. So we are relying upon the information that and the accuracy that our applicants are giving us, but the office and the state cannabis management as well.
Oh,
Right, yeah.
Sophia, we're not blaming, you did your job, we're not blaming you. We
No, but I
did-
just want to clarify that because there's a little bit of a confusion.
Yeah, the discrepancy is coming from the state. This is why we emailed them to make sure that they actually looked at the population, not just the churches and the schools.
Understood.
Because that store does fall within that radius.
We did measuring on our staff end as well, and it's definitely close because we could see, like, as the crow flies, it's a door to door. We assumed that the state Office of Cannabis Management had a formula that they were using consistently between applications. So again, because they had a higher statute that we know that was a kind of a form of insurance for us, not only did we measure it, but we are also relying upon the agency that's issuing these dispensaries.
Yeah, understood. And, you know, they have
But,
been making
yeah.
mistakes, so.
But even in this write-up, it was presumed that the former, that it was approved by the state. It's not any proof, hard, solid proof that we got from the state saying it is over the 2,000, it's over the radius.
The information that we got, and I mean, certainly we can look at the information offline, but it was specifically, quote, due to the relinquishment of proximity protection at a nearby location.
Which was 303 Milton, but if you map that, that's over a mile, so they could have opened regardless.
Mhm.
Even if I was at Russell's Deli,
Mhm.
they could still open because it's over a mile.
Right.
So the issue now is that because we're at 201 North Line and they're at right there, that's way closer than Russell's Deli. It's too close, and I think we should just get clarification from the state. If they're over the 2,000, done. We can't do anything. They can open. But if it's under, that's not part of the regulations and they cannot open. So we just want to have some clarification before, that's all. Just from the state, just to make sure.
What does the OCM decision on 9/11 say?
Or 201 line?
Relative to 201 North?
I would have to pull the project folder. I don't-
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
it's not documented in here, and
Yeah.
that's why we wanted just to make
Okay.
sure it's just an email,
okay.
waiting for a response, that's all. We just respectfully ask to have the public hearing remain open until we get clarification from the state.
Well, we'll consider that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Anybody else wish to make a comment at this time? Anybody online?
No hands.
Okay. What is the board's thoughts? Do we wait and confirm what the OCM determination is?
I mean, I guess I don't really understand, like, who makes that I mean,
The-
let's say they are within the 2,000 or whatever it is feet. Does that mean whatever this one is, Doubleday Avenue can't get their license? Or, I mean, I guess I don't understand exactly.
Well, ma'am, if you're within 2,000 and the state regulation doesn't allow dispensaries within that area, they would either have to get a different location to move it further away or.
Right.
If this is the population of the town, you can't have two within that region.
I guess like if we approved it, what does that mean then? If then they can't, you know what I mean? Like if we approved it tonight and then they can't get their license or, I don't know, does that?
Well, we're
Matter?
we're
I
not
don't
supposed to
know.
approve it until we have the provisional license, which we do have. Checking on the OCM site here, it seems to be indicating that the proximity determination is still pending. How accurate their website is, I don't know.
And we will provide the email to Amanda as soon as we receive the notification from the state.
Do you have, Dan,
Yes,
do you have any response to that?
I do. I would defer to New York State OCM. They issued us, based on their findings of fact, a proximity protection location based on their findings of fact. I mean, that's their job. That's what they do. So I don't think they just helter-skelter that. I think they do some research on it and they make sure that the two locations aren't within the distances that are required to be maintained. So
There's a lot of inaccuracies from that.
Yeah, he's got the right to respond, so.
So, I'm reading an email from OCM with proximity location of this particular address, suite number and location. stating that proximity protection is granted for the specific site. So I would think that that would override anything else. And if in fact approved tonight, which I believe we should be, then the state would come in and make the decision at a later time.
What do you mean the state would come in and make a decision? I thought you were,
If, for example, and I don't think this is going to come to fact, but if, for example, they were to come back and say, oh yeah, you're too close, you're within, you're within in the proximity. They've already issued proximity location for us based on the other applicant being on the records also,
the other applicant at what location though?
the new location.
No, it says 303 North Milton.
Well, that's what our notes say, but that's not what his letter from OCM is
It
saying.
does not state that it's comparing our location. We have the documents for that stuff. It does not state 201 North Line Road on there. But just simply asking for a verification so there's not some issues.
Okay.
Quick question, John.
Sure.
Where are we measuring from, like the lot line or?
I don't recall in the regulations exactly off the top of my head, but it's like from the center of the lot to the center of the lot. Typically, but it varies depending on the locations, because sometimes these locations are, in vertical buildings or they're in, it gets really weird. So the OCM regs though, and this is OCM's jurisdiction. We don't have much say over that. So if OCM has said the proximity is valid, although that's what our notes say, that's not necessarily what their notes say. I know.
Verification, that's all.
So our code requires a provisional.
Our code at one point said they needed a permanent license.
Permanent, okay.
But our attorney and Bill Lewis said because of the way OCM preempts this, that a provisional license would do it. And we would approve, if we were to approve this, we would condition it
Condition,
on
that's what I was thinking.
receipt of the
Yeah.
permanent license. Yes.
So, and that would require, well, I guess what I'm saying is, with potentially you could, obviously a permanent license, a condition, but also
We could
verification.
condition the verification of
the
this.
distance.
Yeah.
And that might be a fair and equitable way to allow the applicant to continue forward with whatever plans they might need, but also for time, the state to clarify with us
Yes.
exactly.
We could do that.
So also, allow you guys to have that.
Well, if you guys
Conditional, ma'am. So we would say, okay, we would approve this potentially if the board wants to, with conditions that they get the permanent application, or permanent license, excuse me, and that the state verify with us that the distance is, outside of that range. So it seems like a way to kind of be fair to both of you guys, I feel like. Okay.
That's just my thought.
Yep,
So-
nope, I'm fine with that. Anybody else? Okay. Then if we were to, I would now entertain a motion to approve a special use permit. Oh, sorry, to close the public hearing. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the special use permit for 2124 Doubleday Avenue at 7:48 PM.
Mr. Chairman, that's a move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Ms. Padula?
Yes.
Ms. Van Danza?
Yes.
Mr. Whittle?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Marin?
Yes.
Chairman Barto?
Yes. So I want to just outline the conditions. We're going to do two approvals, one for the site plan and one for the special use permit. But the conditions that they would be subject to would be one, a 5-year renewal of the special use permit. Two, obtaining a permanent license from the Office of Cannabis Management. And three, verifying the proximity determination distance between 201 North Line Road and 2124 Doubleday Avenue. That sound good with everyone?
Verify the proximity determination in writing.
Yes, in writing from OCM.
Yep.
And Sophia, I'd ask you to follow up on that, even though I know Sasha's got one in, but that we also put that into OCM.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so with that, I will now entertain a motion to approve a site plan for a recreational cannabis store at 2124 Doubleday Avenue.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
any discussion? Please pull the board.
Ms. Padula?
Yes.
Ms. Van Danza?
Yes.
Mr. Whittle?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Marin?
Yes.
Chairman Barto?
Yes. I'll now entertain a motion to approve a special use permit for a retail cannabis store at 2124 Doubleday Avenue, subject to, 1, a 5-year renewal of the special use permit, 2, obtaining a permanent license from the Office of Cannabis Management, and 3, obtaining a written proximity determination from the Office of Cannabis Management on the distance between 201 North Line Road and 2124 Doubleday Avenue.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Second,
I'll second.
any further discussion?
Anything on hours? No.
No, the hours are all written in our,
So it's 8 to 8. Everybody understands.
yep,
Yep.
the hours are 8 to 8,
No on-site consumption.
no on-site consumption, yeah, those
Yep.
would still be there.
Yep.
Okay. All right, no further discussion, please pull the board.
Ms. Padula?
Yes.
Ms. Van Danza?
Yes.
Mr. Whittle?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Ms. Marin?
Yes.
Chairman Barto?
Yes. Okay, so, yes,
Happy holidays, everyone.
yes, you too. Okay, our next project is a preliminary plat review for a major subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road. Mr. Dannable, do you have any updates for us?
Yes, I wanted to run through the presentation for the benefit of the public that's not seen the project.
Oh, you found this.
Okay, good evening. Joe Dannable with the Environmental Design Partnership, here on behalf of the Cisar Brothers Holding Company in their application for a 34 lot subdivision located on Stone Church Road. Brief overview for the public, as we are here for a public hearing tonight. We are looking at an 84 acre parcel just south of Ackland Boulevard, just north of the Pheasant Run subdivision, about half to 3/4 of a mile north of the intersection with Geyser Road. The site is bisected by Stone Church Road. It is one tax map parcel at this time. We are looking to develop just the eastern side of the road located here. The western side of the road will be one of the 34 lots, and that will remain with the Cisar brothers, who their family has owned this for 50 plus years in the town of Milton. We've obtained JDs from the New York State DEC for wetlands. We've obtained verification on endangered species from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We've also obtained a letter of no impact or effect to cultural resources from OPRHP. In addition to this, we've received letters, willingness to serve letters from Rowland's Hollow Waterworks and Heritage Springs Sewer Works. At the last meeting, a round of comments where we asked to provide engineering narratives related to the sewer and water. We have provided engineering narratives for sewer, water, and stormwater management on the site. Again, the project itself, located on both sides of the road, east side of the road will be developed with 33 single-family lots plus other utility lots. The west side of the road will remain as one parcel retained by the original owners of the property. Internal to the site, we have a proposed public road, Paulina Way, named after the brother's mother, who was the original purchaser of this property. 33 lots accessed from the public road and one access onto Stone Church Road. We are providing a no-cut buffer or planted buffer along Stone Church Road, consistent with other subdivisions that have been approved on roads in the town of Milton. We're providing a mail kiosk buffer note along Stone Church Road, where we're going to maintain a buffer areas where there's thin vegetation or no understory vegetation. Additional plantings will be placed. A mail kiosk located within the right of way, a pull-off, 2 mail kiosk locations to provide access. This is identical to what was approved on Greenfield Avenue at 240 Greenfield Avenue for this setup. This is a pretty interesting figure. This is related to the runway protection zone and the flight path patterns from the Saratoga County Airport runway, which is located in this location. The red line indicates the limits of the 2-dimensional runway protection zone, in which in that area, no structures of any sorts are permitted to be erected within this subdivision. The purple and the blue are vertical surfaces set up and extending at different heights as you travel further from the runway, both in a trajectory directly out from the runway. The height and elevation increases as the planes increase. And then there's also from a 3-dimensional way going out from the side, there's additional elevations, which we have to stay out of, which the airport has an easement over. To put that into perspective, as you can see, none of the areas of the houses that are proposed are within the limits of the, I think it's part 72 surface. We've identified the elevations, 460 feet, 470 feet, 480 feet. To give you perspective on that, the garage floor of this house is at 425. This elevation is 460. That house would have to be 36 feet tall to project into that zone, and we're not even within that zone in that area. Same thing as we progress up the site, the further away from the runway you get, the less restricted that is. Now looking at the horizontal trajectory of the runway, again, similar contour elevations are provided for 450, 460, 470, 480, and 490. So in the area of our lots and our houses, we're in the elevation of 470 to 480. Those are the ones that are most impacted by this horizontal alignment. We have finished floors at 425 and 426 to an elevation of 480 feet. That would be a 55-foot tall house, which exceeds the maximum height requirements of the town, which I believe are 38 or 40 feet for this zone. So we're identifying that none of the houses and none of the structures that will be built on the site will impact that 3-dimensional elevation that the county has provided, and that was provided in the county letter, part of their review. The county also talked about this area here, which is within the runway protection zone. That's again that 2-dimensional element. County, I don't get it wrong, I will read it correctly. McFarland Johnson was the county's engineer for the airport. No structures are allowed in the RPZ zone, and the county has the right to clear any and all vegetation obstructions at the ground level within the RPZ zone, and that is their right. I don't believe we can tell them, no, we can't do that. I'm not sure that the town even has the right to tell them, no, they can't do that. That's within their 2-dimensional easements. So that's why we believe that's the appropriate spot to put the stormwater management area. Now, they also had comments on the stormwater management area. They got to make sure it's not an attractant to birds, and wildlife. The great thing about this site is we have some of the fastest infiltrating soils in the county at this location. All of these ponds, after a storm event, will be drained within 24 hours. So they won't be conducive to wildlife habitat and birds. Obviously, they're talking about bird strikes for planes flying off the runway. So definitely wanted to provide the town with that update based upon the county recommendations that we received.
Just while you're there, can you go back to the lines and show us where the two-dimensional lines are again? And the fact that there's no structures in there at all?
Yes, so the two-dimensional line is this red line.
The red line. Okay.
Here, you're going in this direction.
And that's flat to the ground.
Flat to the
Says they
ground.
can come and remove any obstruction. Can you go, so you have trees that you're leaving there.
We were proposing to leave some trees. The county has the right to come in
Come
and
in
clear
and
them
clear them.
in through an easement that they have.
Even then, those trees are going to be on those private residential lots.
Correct. There's an easement. My understanding is the county airport has an easement over that land, not just here, but at the ends of all 4 runways, and has the right to
Okay.
do whatever is necessary within those areas.
Which they obviously haven't to date. But
Correct. So I think that's it. We had, sewer, water, there's an existing Rowland water main running in front of our site. We're simply going to connect to that and loop it through our project. Sewer, there's an existing sewer mains that exist as part of Athens Drive. We're going to run a force main up and tie into the manhole on the west side of the street. Again, in accordance with whatever sewer district and DC standards we need to follow.
Okay.
Oh, forgot about this one. Let me forget about this one. Traffic. We had a traffic study done several years ago. We were looking at 100 units on this site as a part of the PVD. The conclusions of that study recommended mitigation at the intersection of Stone Church Road and Geyser Road with the installation of a 4-way stop. So Geyser Road would become a 4-way stop. There was subsequently a county letter that identified, I think it was pursued by the town. There was a county letter that recommended no mitigation, or that a 4-way stop was not warranted at that location.
yeah, they had done an earlier study
Earlier
that said that it wasn't.
So we have provided a supplemental study from our traffic engineer who keeps their same conclusion for the 34 lots that a 4-way stop is recommended at that intersection, and it is warranted today due to the high degree of right angle incidents that have occurred at that intersection. So we do have an instance where the county might not necessarily agree with the mitigation measures for this development. The developer, we will put in the stop signs, we will not put in the stop signs. The developer cannot put in the stop signs if the county doesn't approve them.
Correct.
However, I believe the town board has the right to authorize the highway department by resolution to install those stop signs. So it's a little bit of a gray area like that. We're willing to do the mitigation. We have no issue with it. I don't know how that's going to work out with the county.
I think Sophia's already triggered that with both county planning and county DPW to say, all right, we got to come to some consensus here. We've had our code enforcement and some of our EMS back up that that's one of our most dangerous intersections, and they're inclined to say, let's go with it, but
Right.
the county does control the intersection.
Correct. And again, I think some information, and I'm not quite sure they know, but I learned about this in the town of Wilton, with their
Okay,
planner.
I hadn't heard that.
The town
Interesting.
board by resolution can override the county and require the stop signs, is my understanding.
I think we'll come to some conclusion with that.
Yep.
So. Okay. Ms. Biancani and Ms. Marusa, do you guys have things you want to go over with us at this time?
Thank you. So not a lot to say in addition to what's already been said. We reviewed these plans. We did have some stormwater comments that have been addressed. They were pretty minor. This is a fairly straightforward site. We did request the details on the stormwater, the water, the sewer. That was all appropriate and accurate. Obviously, this project will require all the approvals of Saratoga County and DEC and DOH. And then the only other thing was the traffic study. And we appreciate the additional information. And as the chairman indicated, Sophia has sent traffic study to County DPW and County Planning for coordination so that we can understand what the issues are. And that was, I think, all we had.
Just to add to that, so we're waiting on that feedback. We've reached out directly to Chad Cook to get that determination. So while we're thinking about infrastructure, one of the details that came up in a discussion with our highway superintendent was with regard to maintenance and management of the mail kiosk area, especially as it pertains to the road dedication. He did express concern with including the mail kiosk and the paved surface approach area within the right of way, and expressed that he was not comfortable in having that be part of the road dedication process. So it's not that the board needs to make a determination, but it is pertinent that the board be aware of the highway superintendent's comments on the project, considering if these roads will ultimately be town dedicated. And the other component that we want to just clarify too, you added the landscaping plan, the street trees. You've also indicated that there's going to be some additional buffering placed along Stone Church Road, which is great. And again, my review just indicates the need to clarify the easement requirements that the county airport is seeking to establish some kind of consensus on the traffic mitigation, as well as to address that particular detail with the road and the streetscape. There are no other major comments at this time.
I do want to, I'm a little confused by the highway superintendent's comments because that is exactly what was required of the prior subdivision we did at 240 Greenfield Avenue, which is under construction. So we were doing exactly what
Understood.
we were told to do then.
Yes.
I'm not sure what the alternative to what we're doing.
So just as a matter of expanding on that, there were concerns over performing the maintenance. Sorry. There were concerns over being able to maintain the existing kiosk area, and he has concerns over his ability to clear it effectively. It's not the only area where this is a concern, and I think they are anxious, and I think we all are, to determine some kind of a protocol and a process with this, because this is a fairly new change that we're dealing with these developments, but there are these kind of entangled issues with regard to whether it's falling within the public right of way, private property, whatever it may be. As I understand it, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, so the paved approach area is part of the dedicated road. The kiosks themselves are proposed to be totally included on a private lot.
Correct.
Okay. So just going forward, and as you know, as we continue the conversation, that's just something I want everyone to be apprised of, and perhaps that's something we could discuss with him further too, see if we can determine something. But I did want to incorporate his comments, as he will ultimately be taking on the roads and maintaining them in perpetuity. So I want to make sure we get those comments into.
We would love to develop some protocol because every post office, every town,
Yes.
every highway superintendent is requiring something different.
Yep.
And they seem to change from
Maybe you can
subdivision
give
to
us some
subdivision.
information. Great.
So there were a lot of concerns from the county on easements, some that exist, some that they're looking to have written up or whatnot. Are you going to be working with them on coming up with those languages and incorporating them? They even extended to say they wanted, I think, on every one of the lots to be in a deed requirement that they are neighboring an airport, and the airport related noise may be heard.
Yeah, we're not opposed to incorporating that into the plans, certainly. The easements, I guess I will have to get some clarification. My understanding is the easements exist and we have to adhere to those surfaces as long as we're not.
So would those easements be showing up currently on the Cisar's property deeds? And then will they be showing up in the deeds of every subsequent owner?
So the two-dimensional on the surface does show up on all town lands. There is RPZ zones identified at the end of every runway. The other ones are not two-dimensional surfaces. They extend towards the, I think it's the navigation rights of the airport over top of the property.
Yep.
We're identifying that no improvements are occurring that would violate their navigation areas and easements. So potentially there needs to be some additional clarification with the county.
Yeah.
But my understanding, and we did this when we were doing the 100 lot PUD, is that as long as these structures aren't within that, they're.
So you got the county's letter too, though, right? So are you negotiating with them right now as to what will,
We have not started the negotiation other than we've had these conversations ongoing with them for probably about 3 years.
so I think we want to know what's got to be done, because they've written us back saying until we work out these things, we can't go to hearing.
Right, so technically this has to go to the county for 239, and technically this letter we have from them that is dated December 9th is a request for additional information, so
Yeah.
this is not appeared before the county planning board. And I will,
Contrary to that, I was under the impression this was sent to the county for the referral back prior to our October meeting.
We sent it, and this is the response we got.
yes,
They were slow in getting us the response, and that's part the sequencing of their meeting with our meeting. So we met in October, which was past their deadline for submission, so we couldn't submit till November.
Yeah.
They
yeah, this
started
was
to
referred November 7th.
address it, and then they didn't take it to the planning board because they want additional information. So the
Correct.
planning board has not acted on it.
We didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
We didn't.
I thought they was automatically under Jenny municipal law. They had 30 days to respond to that request.
I'm sorry, what?
I thought under general municipal law, they had 30 days.
They did. It was
Yeah.
received from the town of Milton on November 7th, reviewed by the county planning board on November 21st with a decision request for additional information.
Right, so they did not act.
With all those questions about
Right.
the easements and the deed restrictions and whatnot. So,
Okay.
so you didn't get a copy of that county letter
I
yet?
did not get that letter until a few days
Well,
ago.
it was just issued,
We just received it.
so
We just got it on December 9th. So
Yeah, so Monday.
I think you need to talk to McFarland and Johnson, say, what do you want? What do you need from us?
when you read what they're requesting, it's unclear how this would be put in a deed for these lots. So I think that that's perhaps a legal question for the project's attorney to figure out how these restrictions appear in a deed.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think I understand what's looking at. I'm a little confused on the process.
It is confusing.
I was under the impression, even based upon what we have on the agenda, we're having a public hearing tonight. We're going to that
No, we're
might
not.
not be able to happen.
We can't because we don't have a complete application.
I will say until we got this letter on Monday, we all thought we were having a public hearing tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Guess there's nothing we can do at this particular junction.
Well, I was going to conclude the seeker process,
Great.
which might help you with the wetlands issue down the road. Do you have a question?
I had one question for you. We talked back and forth about whether you were going to clear trees in that area. You said you intend in the RPZ area. You said you intend to leave them there. I think it's up to you, but I'm not sure that when you go and approach them that they're not going to say, take them all out, right? So I think that's going to have to be something you guys are going to have to think about, because they were pretty clear that they want to be able to have it at the ground level for any vegetation that's inside that area. So I think you're going to, if you don't address it with them, I think they're going to address it with you again, since they put it in writing. Just something to think about.
We'll have to think about it. I know they just want to clear as much area as they can. I will point out there's trees on other lots that we don't have control of that also fall within that they have not cleared.
Well, that's probably because you'll find that the reason why they had to buy all the trees when they did that before with the jet that hit the trees is because they technically don't have all those easements. They just say they should have the easement. Otherwise, they'd be saying you need to follow the easement in your deed, but they're not. They're telling you to put it in. So that's telling you something that they don't think it's fully clear that they own it or that they have the right. Otherwise, they wouldn't ask for it.
Understood.
Yeah.
Sounds like we gotta have some conversations with the county. I guess if we can get through seeker tonight, that would be great. If they're,
What I was going to do is go through seeker, open the hearing, and then adjourn the hearing.
we can open the hearing,
Yeah.
we cannot conclude it.
Can't conclude it.
Okay.
Or if you'd rather
We can
just,
open it. I'd like to get public comment. if-
yes, yes.
Okay, no, that'll be great then.
Any other questions at this time? If not, oh,
Yep, we're good.
we're good. We're good. Okay. All right. So I'm going to read part 2 of the full environmental assessment form, the identification of potential project impacts. There are 18 questions. If anybody has a concern about an impact or a different intake than I do, please let me know and we'll address it. So the first question is the impact on land. Will the proposed action may involve construction or physical alteration of land surface of the proposed site? I'm saying yes. The proposed action may involve construction and continues for more than 1 year or in multiple phases as a no or small impact though. Question 2, impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to a unique usual landform on the site. I'm saying no. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. I'm saying no. Question 4, impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in a new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer. I'm saying no. Question 5, impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development of land subject to flooding. I'm saying no. Question 6, impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. I'm saying no. 7, impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. I'm saying no. Question 8, impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. I'm saying no. Question 9, impact on aesthetic resource. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. I'm saying no. 10, impact on historical archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. I'm saying no. 11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or reduction of open space resources as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. I'm saying no. Question 12, impact on critical environmental areas. We don't have any critical environmental areas in Milton, so I'm saying no. Question 13, impacts on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. I'm saying no. Impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. I'm saying no. Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odor, or outdoor lighting. I'm saying no. Impact on question 16, impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. I'm saying no. 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. I'm saying no. 18, consistency with community character. The proposed project is consistent with the existing community character. I'm saying yes. Okay, anybody have any comments or differences on any of those? All right. I will entertain a motion upon the review of the full environmental assessment form part 2, potential environmental impacts and the supporting documentation that this project will have no significant adverse impacts and the chair is authorized to sign the full environmental assessment form Part 3, determination of significance, that the project will result in no significant adverse environmental impacts, and an environmental impact statement shall not be prepared, and the chair is authorized to sign the FEAF Part 3 as such.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second? Any discussion?
I just had a quick question,
Sure.
John. On item 18, could you just reread the question and your answer again?
The proposed action is inconsistent with existing characters. No, I'm saying no, it's not inconsistent.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay. With that, any further discussion? Please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Van Danzo,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Ms. Fry, or Mr.
Yes.
Fry, Ms. Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Barto.
Yes. Okay. All right, now I will open the public hearing for the preliminary plat approval of a major subdivision at 272 Stone Church Road at 8:20 PM. Is there anybody that would like to address this project? Please come up. Just state your name and address.
Ron Trimper, 668 Eckler Boulevard. So I am one of the houses that is up at the top here that will be impacted by it. So when you said there'll be no serious impact, for me, it'll be serious impact. A couple of things. The airport, they need to know that when the helicopters are doing their night training, they're flying over the subdivision, they're gonna have to deal with that. I don't know if they're gonna be informed about that. The planes, and by the way, I'm F4 pilot, so your map makes perfect sense to me. But planes, pilots don't follow those maps. And they will be coming over this subdivision, so something that may need to know. This area here, springtime, heavy rains, they don't drain in 24 hours. There are springtime, the mosquitoes coming out of there, it's like swarms. So they don't drain as well as, soil's good, don't get me wrong, but in springtime, there is mosquitoes, birds, everything in that area. Just bringing that up because those are things that I heard in the earlier presentation. I know you mentioned that there's gonna be a buffer on Stone Church. What about a buffer between our houses? And the reason why I bring that up is on Ackland Boulevard, you guys approved construction of 2 lots on just east of our neighborhood. And I don't know if you've seen them, but they removed every single tree, even before the lots were sold, on that property. So the people, Angela and Carrie Ann, that live on that house right next to it, have now got single trees with no buffer, and the first big windstorm, those are coming down. So my concern is, if this whole area, these nice greens that were on that other, plot, get pulled down, then I've got single and double trees there that on a big windstorm, now I've got damage to my property. And I'll be told, well, it's your property, you're responsible. So for me, I'd like to see something like this left there and make sure it can be left there. Because I know everything else is insignificant, but it's really significant for me. I mean, I've been here over 20 years, raised my family here, and I'd like to be able to stay here, but if I end up losing this, it doesn't give me a lot to say about the town I live in. Much better design than the original one. I gotta say, single family homes, 30 some odd, much better than the 100 and something they're gonna try to squeeze in here. But it is still gonna impact this area here. And I'm hoping that with that, we can get something, because when my son was going for his citizenship and community merit badge, we were told that the town board can enforce leaving a buffer in between those trees. Either was that something to, make us happy, or it's something to do. But if that's possible, it would really make us feel better, especially for those people that are living on this side of the road or the development.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board on this project? Please come on up.
I am Rick Gargiulo. I live at 660 Ackland Boulevard. And I'm totally not combative. I support growth. I'm a realtor. I think this is growth is a positive thing for our environment. It's great for taxes. It's great for real estate value. Everything goes along with that. I do have a couple concerns as a homeowner, right? So you addressed a lot of them were my questions perfectly, actually. But I did have, so I have a list of, unfortunately for everyone here, because he addressed so much, I scratched most of it off. So I guess that's a good thing. So my questions are not of an argumentative nature. It's really just kind of curiosity and a little bit of a concern. So, don't take me being up here the wrong way. It's just, more passion than anything else. So on cover page, it says 34 lots, you explained that the other lot is across the street, so there's only 33 on this.
Correct.
Right, okay. On the plot map, on the subdivision map, it says something about a buffer. Can you explain the vegetation remaining on the map? It says, it looks to me as if it's a no-cut buffer, right? So up here on the map that I have, and I may have an outdated map, I took it off the website when I saw all this. The exact terminology is approximate limits of vegetation to remain. And I believe that is all of this dark green space, according to, if I'm reading it right.
Which map are you
That
reading?
vegetation remains. So I think this was page 2. It looks like this.
Yep.
It's got the lot numbers and the green space, so it's actually, it's not this map, but it's the one with the Plat schedule.
Yep, let's see it.
So I guess my question is, it says in the map, approximate, it says approximate limits of vegetation to remain. What does that mean? Are they keeping the trees there, or are they not keeping the trees here in this green spot?
Joe, I'll let you respond to that quickly.
And you can table that, you don't have to answer
Nope.
now, but that's a question, so.
What that area signifies as a result of the necessary clearing and grading that needs to occur to construct these houses in that road. Those trees don't need to necessarily be touched as part of the initial development of those lots.
So
They're gonna stay.
They can stay.
The builder's going to leave them there.
okay, that's wonderful news, I hope that sticks to the plan, because I think that's great. And it's great for the environment too, and we all love that, right? Okay, so the other thing that, I've got a bunch of these questions, so I apologize if I want to cut them short, let's do it. So, 2 concerns, you addressed them eloquently, the runway protection zone. There's a slope, there's a VASI, do you guys know about all this?
Yeah.
I guess I would hope, and I'm happy you guys are in tune with it and understanding that, hope the county is as well. I wonder if the FAA is also, and that's an important thing that I think they should be. It baffles me why. All right, so there's standing water a lot. I mean, it is sandy soil, but the water stands a lot. Stormwater management, am I in jeopardy being a homeowner over here of standing water and ducks and geese and rabbits and
So they're,
kind of waterfowl that may take off and hit a prop plane or a jet plane, and the plane, God forbid, crashes and kills all the people on the plane, and maybe even crashes into home.
they're preparing a state regulated stormwater management plan. They're gonna have all those calculations about, based on this volume of rain, what will happen. The test pits will be done. Our stormwater reviewer will be looking at it. They'll be looking at it.
Because that is directly under runway 14,
Yeah.
and that is almost dead center to the runway
Yeah.
protection zone. Just seems like.
And the condition is it's gonna have to drain within 24 hours. So they're gonna have to demonstrate.
Do they
They're
ever know? And what happens in March
Huh?
when the ground's still frozen?
48 hours, 48
So
hours.
in March when the ground's still frozen, but the water's not, and the water doesn't dissipate into the ground, the water, it could stand there for 4 weeks. Right? It can. I've seen it.
Yeah.
We all have seen it, stormwater management. I mean, so
Yeah.
I'm not arguing.
So they're gonna look at that and see what's gonna happen with that.
And, I mean, if it was moved over here or over there, obviously you can't build there because it's stormwater protection zone and everything else, but I think it would be, if I was a pilot or if I ran that, does the FBO know about this? The flight base operation at Saratoga County Airport, the Zilkas?
I don't know.
Because I would be over here in my hair on fire if I was a pilot and I had to take off on runway 14 and I have to worry about what could be a pond, right? I mean, we don't know that it's gonna dissipate, there's not proof, so I'm not gonna beat that to death, but you understand, right?
Yep.
And it's gonna be good. Reflection with standing water, airplanes and all that other stuff. I'm assuming DOT, Saratoga County and all those, the FBO is up to speed on all that stuff. I would hope that the FAA gets some kind of conversation.
We've sent everything to the county and
Well,
they,
the FAA is the federal, and if they say, hey, this is no problem, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable if you guys are comfortable. So I just don't know about this stuff and in respect to, the FAA says, Rick, you have nothing to worry about. You're not gonna, duck's not gonna plane. I'm happy. The only other thing that bothers me a little bit is, July 2021 article in Saratoga Today. The immediate, I'm gonna just take a couple paragraphs off of this. The immediate thing we were looking at is related to safety at the airport, Beach said. There are a couple of properties located within what is called a runway protection zone. The FAA requires us to look at those properties and evaluate them for safety purposes. The FAA always, I'm skipping several lines and sentences, paragraphs. The FAA always encourages airport owners to seek acquisition of those properties. There's two, one on this and one on that at runway 14 is where I live. That's what I'm concerned about. An undeveloped parcel located at the northwest side of the airport adjacent to Stone Church Road. That's the subject property, right? We're in discussion with the FAA right now about seeking reimbursement through grant funds of those potential purchases. These types of arrangements are something supported by the FAA typically. But the county would need to pay for them first and then seek reimbursement. Cook said that.
Yep.
So why do I bring that up? Not to argue, but just to say, wait a minute. Why is the county and why is the FAA and why is the airport asking for safety reasons, why that runway protection area property should be purchased?
they did and they negotiated and they couldn't come to an agreement.
Fine. And they negotiated with me and they came to an agreement. I have an navigation easement is what it's called.
Yeah.
From what I understand, I know very little about it, but for every foot that goes away, spreading out from the
Yep.
navigation easement and through a distance, you can build. So technically, some houses can only be a foot tall. I don't know how sidewise and you guys are doing research.
Well,
on that.
he went through that.
Okay. So, I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, it failed with this property owner, it didn't, but if the county was concerned enough to try to purchase and if it's an issue, then
Yep.
you have a concern. Do I have to be worried? I don't care if there's houses back there, it doesn't matter. Do I have to be concerned about mainly the water and aircraft and everything?
Well,
So-
we're in the process of
I'm
that.
happy that, I think everybody's happy that, that's being looked into and you guys are kind of a guiding light.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, another thing, as far as the stormwater management, who maintains it and is there a fence?
The stormwater management will be maintained by the town. It'll get dedicated to the town. And the fence will all depend on the grade and or ponding that's surrounding it. At this point, I believe there's no requirement to fence it.
Is it, we'll find out later of the depth of it and everything, right?
Yes, that's all in the stormwater plan that's online. You can look at that. Yep. Anybody else like to make a comment? Please.
Hey guys, doing? Ben Bova, owner of 656 Eklund Boulevard over in this corner over here. I have two very small children and having stormwater directly at the border of my property without fencing potentially is a huge problem for me. My kids are very young, they can't swim. If they were to walk down that property and go in there in a time frame where there's a lot of rainfall, that could be a very detrimental issue for me. So to Rick's point earlier, I'm fine with this. This is great. But this right here is a problem for me because of the safety of my children. I would be well versed at having it over here if I had preference. Obviously, that's not real for me to answer. But my concern is if there's a stormwater area that needs to be fenced in for the safety of the kids in the neighborhood that are all here. People buying houses, buying and selling all the time. Those kids are coming into town. Friends, neighbors that come over. You know, it's an ongoing thing. So that's one of my first kind of statements. You know, we did talk about the water and the sewer and the power. That was a really big concern the last time with the 100 lots. And I just want to understand from the town, if you are going to guarantee they're not going to have any issues. We have water issues today, and for them to tee off on to the current water is definitely a concern. I know that you're going to go talk to Geyser Springs and understand that they're able to support the additional houses. So I want to ensure that that is actually happening because we still have issues today because of that, of how it's designed.
They're going to be doing engineering reports to our town designated engineer outlining the adequacy of the service to be there. We've got a whole bunch of new requirements that we're having developers come in and meet. So watch those comments. Mary Beth will be commenting on them.
Right. And then the traffic study, like that's a huge concern. It's a problem down there today. Never mind adding, 35 more houses. So I think you guys already know that. I'm just kind of reiterating that's a big concern kind of going down to that corner every time. And there's always very consistent accidents frequent. So, okay.
Yep. Thank you.
You answered a lot of other questions. So thank you. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else choose to address the board at this time?
If I can, just on the fence. So the state's stormwater guidelines have requirements when a fence is required, when a safety bench is required. So there is, that's built into the process. So if a fence is required, there will be a fence. If a safety bench is required, there will be a safety bench, relative to the pond and safety, just so everybody knows.
Okay. Anyone else choose to address the board at this time? Do you have something you want to say, Joe, at all?
Maybe just a couple comments. We're talking about buffers.
Yep.
Adjacent residential lots. Thought maybe we would get into this conversation, so I prepared a slide. Just identifying, and I think 668, 660. Yeah, 668, 660 spoke was 658. Is that the last one?
656.
656 up here. Yeah. So just looking at, adjacent to our property, and what I did is I identified each one of these as a dimension.
Yep.
That we measure basically from the property line to the clearing to improvements on that property or those properties, and going from left to right. The first property is cleared to within 10 feet of their property line, and their pool house is approximately 27 feet from the property line with additional open area behind that. The next lot on 668, who's probably respected the buffer, or not the buffer, but their property line the most, is cleared to about 28 feet from the property line. Going in, continuing down, we have clearing within 7 feet of the property line and a fence that's approximately 36 feet away from the property line. The next lot, there is clearing that's essentially to the property line and a fence that is roughly 10 feet away from the property line. And on the last lot, 660, they've cleared right to the property line and at least a portion of their property. And then as we get up into here, there's lawn area that goes up to about 25 feet. So in consideration to what already exists in the neighborhood, we would be willing to look at the largest area, which is about 25 feet of clearing, and provide a 25-foot no-cut buffer to be consistent with our neighbors on the property line.
Okay. Okay. All right. There being no further public comment and noting that Saratoga County Planning Board has asked for additional information, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing at 8:39 PM.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Hold on. And that, I'd like to say when we're going to reconvene, but the way the county's schedule looking, I don't think we can reconvene with their comments until January. Or something.
Maybe even February.
So it'd be,
Depends.
the earliest would be January 7th. That's going to be tight though, because you also got to negotiate all that easement work.
I'd like to hold that date, and if we have to.
Okay, so we can adjourn until January 7th to be scheduled at 7:05 PM.
I'll have a call into
you ready?
Chad and Tom
Hold
and
on.
Jason tomorrow.
Okay. To address those concerns.
Yeah, to at least get the ball rolling.
So do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I so move as
Second.
amended.
Second? Any further discussion by the board?
What's that date again?
January 7th it was?
7, 8 maybe?
That's our regular meeting.
8th maybe?
Oh, is January 8th? Hold on, let me look at my calendar.
8th, okay.
Can't be the second Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. The 7th is the comprehensive plan meeting. So at the January 8th.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay,
I accept it.
that being done, please poll the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Ms. Padula,
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle.
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Marin. Yes. Chairman Barto.
Yes. Our next action, we've once again had a request for a 90-day extension of the preliminary plat for a major subdivision at 336 Rowland Street. The project continues to have delays in DEC's approval of the sewer service connection to the Saratoga County Sewer District. We last extended this approval in September and have another request to extend it for 90 days. I will now entertain a motion to extend the preliminary plat approval for a major subdivision at 336 Rowland Street from January 6, 2025 to April 6, 2025.
I so move.
Fry, do I have a second?
I'll say.
Little, any discussion?
Do we have any understanding why it's being delayed over and over and
This
over?
goes back to Mary Beth has queued us up about the county having to do this full analysis of the entire county sewer system to guarantee that they have the flow rates and capacity to get sewage from point A to point B in a rather large district. That's put a virtual stop on so many sewer approvals from DEC coming out of Region 5 on projects throughout the entire county. And this one just got caught in it. We did have some hope last month that they were going to get a DEC sign off. They haven't yet gotten it.
They do now have the Saratoga County sign off. So that was another step.
Yep.
That's gone to DC. So this is not, I think we've said this before, this is not particular to this project. This doesn't have anything to do with this specific.
I think every project that we've approved since 336 is going to run into the same delay until the county gets that capacity analysis done.
Right.
They want to know that you flush your toilet here in Milton, it's going to get to Mechanicsville.
I'm on board with that.
So, not that we've ever had a problem, but, so with that, please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Ms. Padula, Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle.
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Marin. Yes. Chairman Barto.
Yes. Our next project is the continued conceptual review of the McDonald's at 10 Trieble Avenue. Mr. Wilson, do you have an update for us at this point?
Good evening.
Yes. So good evening. Great to see you, and we did provide some updated figures, and this is a site plan you saw pretty much the same as it was last month. It was very preliminary last month. It's still a bit preliminary now. But we have enhanced some of the pedestrian features, which we discussed last month with this board, which included kind of basically it's kind of a book match to what Duncan did with basically almost 360 pedestrian sidewalks with a connection from the front of the McDonald's, which is now on this side of the building, and connecting it basically to that sidewalk around the property as well. I know there's a couple comments in staff's review. We need to get our drive aisle up to 21 feet. I think it's 6 feet.
Bless you.
When we get our full design drawings together, so we can avoid that variance. At 21 feet, right? That's the minimum. Yeah, I think I can find that 2.5 feet or so somewhere in there and get it up to 21 feet and avoid that issue. So I think based on what we heard last month and these changes, I think we're kind of set with the site plan. I was going to jump to the architecture because I think that had a little bit more discussion needed. If that makes sense. Oops. Let's go here. Yes. So in your packets was two-dimensional elevations that we prepared based on board feedback. And I'll just jump to the 3D since those are basically a little bit easier to understand and follow. So these weren't ready by the time we made the submission, but obviously we want to show them to you tonight. So this gives you a sense, and the views are labeled. So if I'm coming in up the boulevard and off of Rowland, and I'm looking down Rowland, this would be Rowland over here. You can see now we've added the gable over the top of the cover over the drive-through area. Again, matching that Dunkin' Donuts next door to us, and provided kind of that in the front of the building, kind of this architectural feature, kind of really show this is the front of the building and this is where the entrance to McDonald's is, to try to capture that. And flipping around now, so this is if I'm kind of up at Trieble Avenue looking, if I'm up at the Boulevard and Trieble, kind of in that corner, and I'm looking east towards the building, it gives you the sense, here's the non-drive-through side of the building. Basically, Hannaford would be over here. And then down around here, again, you're entering the drive-through here. I'm looking back. Dunkin' is basically down here. And then this is looking up Rowland Street to give you a sense of that view with the drive-through canopy and that gable on the front end, really make it a feature of the building. So we tried to hear the best you can and try to capture a lot of the architectural features that you wanted in this building. And I'd like to think we have. I guess that's why we're here to have this feedback tonight. We know there's much engineering comments to address. Again, our goal, I think, early on was to kind of get the big picture item set, architecture and layout, and then we'll dive into stormwater pipes and all the nitty gritty of the project.
Yep. Ms. Marissa, do you have any comments?
I had a quick question before I moved on,
Sure.
which is what is the height at the top of the canopy for the drive? The scale of the Rowland Street view north makes it look very large, but I can't tell if it's a matter of perspective. But if we can clarify the dimension, that's great.
You're saying, what's the top to there?
Yeah.
Let's see, we're about 19 to the top of the parapet. So it's probably another 3 feet. I'd have to confirm it, but you're probably in that 22-ish range, 23.
So that ties into the parapet, because I
That's
think
right.
in the rendering you sent us, it was more of a flat roof.
Well,
That was the prior one.
That was the prior.
yeah, we have, so we have around from the canopy, around the front of the building and everything, that we have that kind of mix of a real gable and a faux gable, but yeah, kind of the backside of the building, we still have that flat, but we've enhanced the parapet, you know, with this detail here to kind of avoid that flat roof, look as much as possible.
So the drive-through roof is peaked. So
That's right, oh yeah.
Because in this rendering, it was still flat.
That was from the Google submission, so I think that's an updated.
Yeah, but the one that you circulated to us and that we have electronically. Yeah. Okay.
That sounds
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Thank you, Steve, for working with us and through these renderings. I appreciate the fact that we've been able to coordinate offline and you're taking in comments from various parties. So we appreciate that and hopefully we can get some clarity going forward tonight. So to the same end that my initial review had stated, I think it's critical for the board to continue to assess the architecture of the building, to continue to make the asks and enhancements that they see required on this site in accordance with the town center guidelines at this time, and to just really kind of firm up the aesthetic review of the building. Obviously, we addressed the proposed layout. Last meeting, we had looked at the alternatives, and I think that aside from the potential spatial variances that we might have to deal with, the layout itself looks like it's definitely far more pedestrian oriented. The only thing that I had a question of, and it could be a matter of engineering review, was if, and I don't know if it's possible, we can go to the site layout. I don't know from a traffic circulation perspective, if it makes sense to think about the entrance that's closest to the boulevard to Rowland. If in some way restricting turns at that might in any way help to improve kind of double circulation of the site for those that are kind of bypassing around and coming off of the Trieble Avenue southern entrance, where they have to kind of hop into the kiosk by looping around the building and going through. So I just don't know if there's any way that by regulating movement on site, if we could continue to improve that. But obviously it has to still support adequate access and circulation. So it's just something I was trying to test drive this site and we were trying to anticipate the turn. So I just didn't know if that was something for us to look at a little bit more closely.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, from a pedestrian standpoint, right now we have one-way traffic flow counterclockwise around the site. The driveways are two-way, but everything once you enter the site, it's basically one-way, which I kind of feel is the most safest when it comes to
It is better,
pedestrian
yeah.
movement on
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
We don't have traffic going like this on site.
Well, so I think, if you're driving through the site, right, if you're on the north entrance, which is the one that's closest to Steve, and you come in and you don't want to go through the drive-through, you're really going to park in those parking spaces that are on the west side of the site. You're going to park there.
Yep.
And then you're going to walk in the main entrance, which is essentially that face of the building, before you get to the drive-throughs. Given the size of this site and the building dimensions, and then looking at one of the comments that you guys will see we had was regarding the turning radiuses through the 2 lanes of the drive-through. What's shown is sort of the industry standard. The interior depth of that curve is 10 feet. The exterior is 12. That's pretty typical. One thing I like about the way this plan has worked out is that the ordering kiosks are now pulled more to the extreme end of the curve radius. So that causes a lot less conflict, a lot less issues. If you have anybody who drives one of those massive giant trucks, getting through one of these things without having to back up is sort of an issue. So that's something I think we can keep looking at. The aisle width, the reason we brought that up, other than the 21 feet being required by the code, is, and this is one-way traffic. So the code, with a 60-degree parking is I think assuming one-way traffic for the 21 aisle width. But it's just that's kind of part of this, right? I think the one-way circulation is actually really good on this site. Two-way circulation would be very challenging and would be confusing for pedestrians. The one thing, if you're entering from the south entrance and you don't intend to go through the drive-through, you're either gonna, I think the intent is that those south parking spaces that are near the dumpster location are really for employees because they're pretty far away from doors. So you're gonna enter and you are gonna drive the bypass around and either park on the east end or park on the west end. Not uncommon in these types of situations to require traffic to do that. But again, I think for a tight site, if you can find the space to add those couple of feet to the driving aisles, that would be helpful. And the only other thing I think is just to, at some point, I know you have a lot of engineering details to do, is to show, sort of that emergency access. I think the presumption is that an emergency vehicle would be probably entering one of the two site entrances, obviously, but then where that arrow is on the west side, it would be stopping there, and that would be the point of access for emergency to the site. But that's a detail that we do need to go through. Other than that, that really covers our comments, other than, as you said, this is really preliminary. This was just to nail down the site layout, and then there's a lot of engineering details that are required.
The only thing I didn't understand in your comment on the variances, the setback to the street, I thought we're avoiding that issue with the canopy. We brought it right up to the street line.
I think I might not have had the benefit
Oh.
of the print of the layout.
I got you. Okay,
So-
I got you.
So I can
Yep.
easily rectify
Yeah.
that.
Thank you.
With an updated plans that you
All right.
Board comments.
Yeah, I thank you. I know you put a lot of effort to try to get it closer to, I think, where this board would be thinking. The only thought I have still, and I understand that that's a parapet on the rear and the other side. I know, I think that would be the west side a little bit. I thought last time when we discussed it, it was more to keep the cohesiveness of like the faux sort of gable. And I thought that would have extended on the rear of the building and on the other side, because again, I'm looking at this as a 360 sort of building. You're going to see every side of it. I do appreciate that the gable by the drive-through windows is there. So I just think it would help with cohesiveness. I know McDonald's is going for more of the more modern style. However, our town, again, very traditional and, its appearance in the down center. So I know that might be one of my requests. I don't know how the board feels on it, but I think it would even get it that much closer to what our community is used to. So thanks.
John?
I had a quick question on the part with the drive-through coming out. I know you chose to make it higher than the rest of the building. Is it possible to show us one with it approximately with the building, but still keep the gable? Or does that lower your drive-through space too much?
What do you mean, the clearance here on the building?
I'm talking about how high it is in the front, because it kind of looks like it's like a thing, like kind of attached, but like separate from the building. It may be a perspective thing that I'm looking at with the picture. It may not actually look like that, but it looks like it's a thing put on the top, but it's not actually cohesive to the building.
But it was kind of designed to kind of match that.
Oh, I want to keep that approach,
Yep.
but does it need to be as high? Or can it still be a lower peak?
Take a look at that.
And the drawing you gave us, the drive-through, this one had a flat roof. Didn't have the gabled ends on it, which you seem to be showing here. And the height at the bottom of the drive-through height was 10 feet, 11 inches.
Bottom of the drive-through. Oh, okay, yep.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do now.
That looks like it's almost 20 feet up on the bottom right-hand side. Maybe it's just the perspective we're looking at.
I think it's just a perspective.
Okay.
You kind of look it up. And remember, there's a door there that's like 6'8".
Yep.
Or you know.
Sure,
you're
standard
walking
door.
Through, so, yeah.
That's why I was asking my question the way I was, because I wasn't sure whether it was just a perspective I was looking at or whether it really was, you were raising it up to
No,
be
it's definitely
higher.
raised up, and I think it's kind of designed to kind of complement this peak as well.
Yep.
But you think
Okay.
it looked better if it was brought down?
Well, maybe we could see the two different versions, because I think we're getting there.
All right.
The other thing was the width of it along the building. The drawings here seem to show it covering over the first two drive-through things. So seems quite a bit wider than what you've got in that rendering.
Yeah, I think this is where we're at now. I think kind of narrowing it down there with that gable on there. We got to keep it kind of a little bit smaller.
That helps take a lot of the line, the flat wall line away if it was that width of over the two drive-throughs. And then the other thing I had was the brick around the edge and the columns holding up the drive-through end. If they could be tapered, more of a craftsman style, and then possibly the brick instead of being brick, be stone, which we have throughout much of the town center.
I'm not sure about the tapering. The problem with the stone, it's more of a maintenance headache. It doesn't last, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to last in some of the other buildings. McDonald's has experimented this with other building plans in the past, and that's why brick is tried and true, and it's just timeless. Hence the reason they're kind of leaning into that. I can take a look at the tapering option. As well.
Is there a brick that you would put up instead of having it a column or some sort of brick that would be that color?
Well, he's got them there as brick on the bottom base, like the first 3
Yeah.
or 4 feet.
Watermark there,
And then the rest of it is a wooden column or some
Yeah,
kind
so
of column.
on some sort of column, right? Whether it's wood or I don't know what kind of thing you have on there, just siding board or something.
It's right. It'd be like a hardy board kind of siding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible to have a brick that'll go up?
All the way?
Not red brick, but some sort of a block or.
It would work with the rest of the building.
If you don't
Rob
mind.
Anderson from McDonald's.
Yes.
Oh, thanks.
Absolutely. A couple of the comments that you've had here. This structure over the driveway absolutely could be lower.
Yep.
Yes, it was kind of meant to mimic the same height as
That's
the
right.
other, which
Yep.
it stands out too much. I agree with you. And I had that comment, but these things are designed by committee and it
We're
is
doing right now.
it is yeah, one committee to the next. We would prefer just to have the same height of the brick element match the building. We're always doing that with our
Yeah, I would too.
our trash corral. That the common elements, if they're made of the same material, that they be in similar heights or structural. It does add quite a bit of cost and to go higher with that masonry. And the benefits, plus if you were to go higher, you'd end up with, if you were looking for a tapered look, you'd end up with something that was very
Massive or
Pyramid.
bulky? Oh,
and bulky,
Yeah.
yes. The other comment that was made was the flat roof area. And, we do struggle with this. And the main thing is that we have a lot of engineering requirements for HVAC units, exhaust ducts, toilet vents, toilet exhaust vents, all the different materials that have to go up into that roof. When we add this, I'll call it a mansard roof almost, it severely decreases the amount of flat roof area, which is actually about 5 feet down. It's like right above the McDonald's sign here, so that you get a visual barrier from all of that
stuff that we don't want to see. Nobody wants to see. So if we have a gable area, you know, above this, then you're gonna end up projecting all of those exhaust vents out to the roof, and it'd be extremely unsightly. I mean, it would really, really detract away from the appearance of the overall building. So we're hiding them with this flat roof. We've added a cornice detail to make it more applicable. However, my envision was that this was lower so that it intersected with the side of the flat wall, and that the, you know, cornice detail intersected with it much higher up on the, almost onto the roof, you know, so I would say probably 3 or 4 feet, it could come down and it would look more appropriate.
May I go back to the Mansfordy side of thing? I didn't necessarily mean for you to put something that is like absolutely Mansford roof line. I just meant, can you continue with a material or a design that isn't taking necessarily footage, you know, away from your roof that you need to have all your exhaust? I'm not saying make that visible. What I'm saying is there's some sort of facade sort of thing that you can wrap around that would continue that line. I think it's a little jarring, and it's going to be from a very visible side of the road. You're going to see that if you're driving north on Rowland. So, you have a lot of the truck features on the other side. So if people coming from the north down south will see that. But folks, you know, coming into the town from the south, that's going to be the prominent feature they're going to see. And I don't think it's necessarily in line with some of the roof lines that we are used to seeing in our town center. And you guys, I know there's been effort, like, and you've listened to our, you know, thoughts pretty, you know, thoughtfully. But I guess that's probably my concern is how do you get that side of that building to kind of fall more in line with the look of our town center?
I do believe that detail was a first attempt at that.
Oh, yeah.
We could make that maybe a little stronger, lower it down a little bit so that it kind of more is continuous with the mansard area. But we can definitely take that, make it look a little bit more consistent and cohesive.
The other thing we're battling too, it's not just the height of things, spatially, there's a lot of room up there we need for all that equipment. And this robs, it takes away the actual, believe it or not, it takes away a lot of space on top of the roof. So the more we add up there, believe it or not, we get to the point of, well, now we gotta find a new spot for all the HVAC equipment, like off the roof, which is not gonna work for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find that. balance. Yeah.
Right.
You can take a look at that.
And that, this structure here does take up space as well. So maybe we can look at making that work a little bit better, free up some space.
Thank you.
Gentleman from McDonald's, can I just get your name?
Robert Anderson?
Any other comments at this point? Anybody else?
I want one pedestrian connection, because I know it's gonna come up eventually, and I just wanna maybe get the board on board with this. So Duncan connects, they have this little connection here to connect them with the entire plaza. I guess my thinking is I'm gonna mirror that type of thing here as well.
Is it angled or you're gonna go straight across?
It runs like, it's right there.
So it's like a standard
It's a
three-corner.
painted crosswalk through here. So I guess I'm thinking we're gonna mirror that kind of the same thing in our corner as well to provide a connection to the rest of the plaza. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does that, I guess that entrance coming out of Hannaford is going to be in the middle of your two entrances, isn't it?
That's right. We're kind of like this. That's right.
So I'm wondering if you want to make the connections more at that,
Oh, you mean
like
doing
there.
something like that?
and
I think we'd be comfortable with that one too. Yeah, since it's all, there'd be stop sign there and everything and.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine.
I mean, take a look at that as you see it lay out.
I know eventually you're gonna say, well, how we connect into the rest.
Because
of the
they're not,
plaza.
they're not gonna walk through that grass area all the time to go into Hannaford. If that's where they're ultimately heading to, they're gonna end up at that intersection.
What do you mean by that? I'm sorry.
Like when you come out right there at the boulevard, no.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, we'll go on your side.
Oh, yeah.
You go straight across. People aren't gonna always walk through the green. There's gonna be snow there at
Oh,
times.
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
If you had them down where the entrance is,
Yep. I got you.
that's what I'm planning to think.
Yep. Okay.
And then maybe across the boulevard, so if they wanted to get over to where Duncan was,
Okay.
go across that way.
You saying across here?
Yeah,
That I was trying to avoid. That's such.
You don't want 'em-
There's too much pavement there, I think.
Yeah.
for-
okay.
It's not safe for
Yeah,
pedestrians.
with those radiuses and everything.
So then you're gonna get them cross the road and walk on the sidewalk on the other side.
Do the L or.
Okay,
Well, if you're walking, you want to get your steps in, so.
that's true.
Or is this?
Yeah. All right,
I think we're close then. I appreciate the board's input. I think our next submission is going to be a full design package, landscaping, full
Yep.
design, SWIP, the whole thing, while we button up these last bit of architectural features here, and I think we're getting really close, so.
and if you wanted to send something on the architectural features to Sophia and she can circulate them with us,
Yeah.
that the people have
That-
within your time frame.
Yep.
If there's comments or something, we can get those done. What I was gonna do though is do our first step of the State Environmental Quality Review Act here tonight as well. So, our next step would be to start the seeker process. I will entertain a motion that this project be classified as an unlisted action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act and that the Town of Milton Planning Board is declaring itself lead agency.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second,
I'll second.
any discussion? Please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano,
Yes.
Ms. Fulla,
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza. Yes. Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Marin. Yes. Chairman Barto.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next project involves the proposed cell tower at the county complex at 6010 County Farm Road. Is the applicant or the representative? Yep, you're here. Running late. Okay,
Good evening.
I just wanted to mention that we do know that this project is going to require an area variance because of the height of the tower. So we'll do a little coordination with seeker and then we're gonna have to do some coordination with the ZBA as we do this, but. if you want-
Perfect. Yeah, just for an introduction, Attorney Hyde Clark with Young Summer here on behalf of Selco Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless. This is for a proposed cell tower as stated at the Saratoga County Correctional Facility campus. We are proposing a tower at 190 feet, 194 feet when you include the 4-foot lightning rod. This is in the R2 zoning district, is an allowable use. As the chair mentioned, because of the proposed height at 190 feet, we do require an area variance from the zoning board of appeals with the maximum height of the tower permitted in the town at 150 feet. So we will have to obtain that prior to getting special use permit and site plan review approval from this board. This is for the southeast portion of the town, the last facility that we were here for a couple months ago. It was more for center part of the town. Importantly to note in our site selection analysis, there is an existing tower at the campus. We did do a thorough review of that tower based on the existing equipment. We would not be able to locate until a height of 66 feet, which just doesn't work for this facility. The proposed facility will provide service to County Farm Road, Middle Line Road, Galway Road, North Line Road, Greenfield Ave. We do have to go to that 190 feet just to clear the existing vegetation, allow for co-location of county equipment, other wireless service providers. Provide a similar application as we did for our last tower, our full environmental assessment form. We have our coverage plots, which show the coverage gap in what would be provided. We provide our RF safety report, non-interference letter, Also, for this proposal, we've already done a balloon fly and had our engineers provide pictorial representations of what that tower looked like from different locations surrounding the facility. So that is in tab 9 of the application package. You can see there's limited visibility kind of close by. But as you get further away from the tower site, there is no visibility given the existing vegetation. We will access the facility directly from County Farm Road. So that just provides a separate access from what the county is currently using for their access and parking. And that's an overview, and happy to answer any questions as we move through this and understand that this is just the introduction.
Okay. Questions from the board at this time?
Is there an existing tower on the site? Is that what you said?
Correct. Yep. There's an existing 185-foot tower. Because of the existing equipment that's on there, the Verizon wireless equipment would have to go to a height of 66 feet.
So that tower is not yours then?
It's not ours.
It's an EMS,
So
Yep.
that's,
county EMS tower.
oh, it's not a cell phone tower.
I'm not sure if there's others.
I don't believe there's any cellular service.
Oh, okay, it's not a
just
cell
the
phone
emergency
tower.
service
Okay, I thought it was a cell
broadcasting.
phone tower in there.
No, just, as part of our site selection analysis, we look if there's any existing towers, existing structures that could provide.
Okay, just my confusion.
The
Thank you.
plan doesn't show that tower on it that I can see. Where is it in proximity to where you're located?
It's in northeast.
What should I pull up?
You can see it.
It is on the plans. It's very tight. Sorry, but do you know where the correctional facility is?
Yep.
Yeah.
In between the correctional facility and the office county, like the office building, right in between there. Can you see
Oh, yeah, okay, I can
the
see
little
it.
fenced area?
Yep,
It's, yeah.
Okay.
I know, it's there.
It just has a little note of the 185 feet. So if you look at the proposed tower compound on sheet A02.
Yep.
It's just a little north, east of our proposal.
so if you look at the sheet number AO1 and you show the driveway entrance, you got that?
Yep.
So that driveway entrance is directly across the street from that house, and that person's gonna look out their front window and look right down the driveway to your tower. I'm wondering if that could be shifted to the left or to the right and creating an angle going in that could be vegetatively screened with some shrubs or something like that, so they're not looking right at the base of the tower. You get what I'm saying?
Yep. Certainly a comment we can take back.
You know, I don't know how that works when you get to lot 19 or 17, but just a way of kind of changing that up so it's not just a straight, oh, look at out my front window and I'm going to see the base of the cell tower and the fence and
Understood.
that. So, but outside of that, I mean, our next step is to the ZBA. We're gonna do a seeker motion that will become lead agency on this eventually. But what that'll require, I think, Bill, when will this go to the ZBA? Is it on their meeting and?
Yes, this month.
It's on this month. So when we meet in January, we would have to then make a determination of significance before they could have.
Before
the
they
hearing and
can
make
rule.
Their decision. All right, so we got time for that. So what I'm gonna do tonight is listed as an unlisted action, declaring planning board as the lead agency on this, if that's okay.
Yep.
All right, so I will entertain a motion that the Town of Milton Planning Board be classify this project as an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that the planning board wishes to declare itself as lead agency pursuant to seeker.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Second?
I second.
Okay, great.
So who was that?
It was Maren. Her first official second. Congratulations. Maybe next time you can be emotions. All right, I'm kidding. So with that, any discussion? Please pull the board.
Mr. Marsicano?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Ms. Van Denza,
Yes.
Mr. Whittle,
Yes.
Mr. Fry,
Yes.
Ms. Marin,
Yes.
Chairman Barto.
Yes. Okay. Keep us posted. All right, our next project is for 410 Geyser Road, a special use and site plan for a commercial recreational use at 410 Geyser Road. The applicant here, yes. Been a while getting here, sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Jenna Clark, and I am here in regards to 410 Geyser Social Club and Cafe Bar. And let's see. I'm going to paint a picture for you of what I'm trying to achieve. And yeah, let's dive in. So the purpose of what I'm building. A little bit of history about myself. I grew up in Albany, New York, and moved to New York after college. And then for the last 5 years, I've been traveling the world, working remotely. And in the last 6 months, I moved to Milton, and I love Milton. But really what brought me here was the walkability, its proximity to Saratoga. I like a lot of things about it. And so what do I want to create in my community was my question. And that is a fun, inclusive, dynamic space where the community can come together to connect, unwind, and have a blend of recreation and relaxation. So I'm not going to go into all the nitty-gritty details of this presentation, but I do want to, oops. There we go. Okay. So who is this built for and what are we creating? What am I creating? The target audience is young professionals age 21 to 45 or however old, if you want to come join in. And so the goal really here is to build a space that doesn't necessarily, there we go, a space that doesn't revolve solely around alcohol, that has curated experiences, gets individuals off their phones. There's a lot in this town and around for children and the elderly, but often there's not much for people from the ages of, 20s, 30s, 40s. How do they socialize? So this is a place for people to come together to be able to do that. And let's see, the location, you guys already know Milton's amazing and strategically located. Moving on, the atmosphere and aesthetic. Kind of the vision I see for this is in the morning, maybe like a fresh and energizing, like, hey, coffee bar I have, but really the focus is going to start with the afternoon evening vibe, which is an approachable sort of rec center with volleyball and some games for adults to hang out and enjoy. And we will have a lot of non-alcoholic drinks as well as alcoholic drinks, but the focus is really don't come here to get drunk, come here to enjoy yourself, relax after work. So some of the activities and features, we're going to have the rec center, very volleyball themed, social events and private rentals if you'd like. We are not going to be serving food to start, but we will potentially, if there's an option to partner with food trucks or bring your own food, which will help, the other fellow businesses sell more food. Beverage options, not go into that. And then just the guest experience. This is not a project that is not being well thought out. I care and I'm excited to bring this to the town. And yeah, I think that's a good start. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
My name is Jason Dell. I'm an engineer with Lansing Engineering. Just kind of go over the features of the site plan. So this project site is at 410 Geyser Road. The entire project site is approximately 1.8 acres. And there's an existing single family house that's located with the frontage of Geyser Road, which will be repurposed for the uses that Jen had indicated. So access into the facility will be via the existing driveway that's there. That will be improved, come around and wrap around to the parking area that will be located along the eastern side. Moving up through the site, we've got an outdoor gaming area in the center, and then we've got two regulation-sized volleyball courts, as well as other amenity spaces with a pergola here and picnic tables. So to Jenna's point, this will be, a recreational facility along with what's going to go on inside the building as well. So for this project, they will be extending a new water service into the building for the municipal water main that's along Geyser Road. And they will be rebuilding and upsizing the septic system for sanitary sewer. And because of the nature of the facility, it's already existing, the size of the property, we will not need to do a SWIP or any formal stormwater management plan for it, because in essence, we're only creating a small amount of impervious area. So we're here tonight to introduce this project to the board, answer any questions that you may have, and advance the project as the board sees fit.
Okay. Questions from the board?
For when you start looking at it, can you help us understand how you came up with your parking and how did you base it and which part of the regulations you're using in order to figure that out?
Sure. Based the parking on 4 spaces per court, or one, and so we need 12 spaces if you look at it that way, or 23 spaces if you look at it per square foot basis. It's the applicant intent, and based upon her experience, that she'd like to go with the 12 spaces, that she feels that will be adequate for the facility.
So there would only be 4 players per court? I'm not, how did you there's how many players playing?
Well, I guess, yeah. Well, it's a good question.
I need you to speak into the microphone.
Oh, sorry about
Yeah. So I do know in the documentation, there was 4 parking spots per court, which is what we came up with 8. And so, yes, that's what we planned. And then there's additional spaces. Yeah.
So I guess my question would be, how many people are on a typical volleyball team?
So there's going to be a mix of, first, the background is specifically doubles, but we're not going to make, a lot of money just by having 4 people on a court. And so, I think that might be a little tricky, but that's where we're going to start.
Well, I just think we ought to have you think about it again, because I'm kind of thinking that your parking might be a little light. In which case, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Good too. We are at the end of the bike path, so my plan is also to have people bike. We are in a very walkable area, so I know the US is very car driven, but my plan was also to have it be a little bit more bikeable and walkable, and attract some of the more local people.
Okay.
But I understand that cars are important, but we also built this based on what the town regulation was.
Sure. So I have a more basic question. I'm trying to really classify the use you're coming in from our zoning schedule of uses. And I'm reading it as we have a commercial recreational use, but you also had this idea of a cafe bar. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what is the use we're suggesting this is going to be. I mean, commercial recreational, obviously, you're going to be charging people to use court fees to come and play volleyball and or other games. But then you have, is the house going to be converted and turned into more of a cafe bar setting? Is anybody living in the house right now?
So yes, I'm currently living there.
Okay.
And I walk my dog on Geyser Road every morning. And so anyways, I am living there. It is a single family home currently. But I thought, why have two mortgages when I can just have one while I'm building this? The house is actually gonna remain very like as is. I don't need to change a lot of stuff. It is gonna have sort of a clubhouse vibe. The aesthetic stays the same. We're just gonna sort of make it, it's a unique concept, but yes, it will be sort of in the winter, we won't be able to play volleyball, obviously, so it will be a lot smaller. But the backyard is big and beautiful, and so in the summer, it will be able, like, we'll really have that vibe, but I am currently living there. I do not plan to live there when we open, but that's how it is right now. Yes.
So how would we be looking at
Three
this?
uses.
So we have a single family residence,
Right.
a commercial recreational use, and then what's the,
I'm assuming the single family is getting phased out.
okay.
Correct.
Yes.
So the three, commercial recreational,
Yeah.
what's the other two?
You have community recreation facility.
Well, that's got to be commercial recreation, is what we
And you
have.
have, is it outdoor recreation area? And then you have an indoor bar.
It's going to be a cafe bar,
Yeah.
which will have alcohol and non-alcoholic drinks.
And for the period that she's in it, wouldn't it be a residential or a?
Well, she's saying that when it opens, she won't be living in it.
I'm just allowing the potential that she is, and then you'd have that other use. Because otherwise,
Well, then what you'd be talking about is home occupations. It's just going to be limited to only one use.
Well, that's
extra
right, yep.
Accessory use.
that's if it's a home occupation. It could be rented. But because it depends on what she's, because
I'm
are
just
you going
trying
to
to figure
convert
out
the
what
bed?
we're looking at.
Yeah, are you going to convert the bedrooms and everything else into the spaces that the folks are going to use?
Yes,
Is
that's
that-
correct. Yep. It's pretty much 2-bedroom home.
Yep.
And upstairs bedroom and a bathroom. I don't have a current plan for that, and that people won't be upstairs. But I won't be living there either. That is not the plan. This is, but downstairs, the living room and the dining area, those will all be the experiences. You walk in the door, there's some seating. The kitchen will be transitioned into a bar, like the cafe bar, and then you can go into the living room, which will have multiple seating. And then the garage will have some games and things like that.
Okay.
Can I jump in about the parking a little bit, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Reminds me of in the Village of Boston Spa, we have Real McCoy, and it's a tap room. It's not going to be extensive with, it doesn't have volleyball courts, but there's like, not pickleball, cornhole, excuse me. No, it's Village, it's different, there's on-street parking, but some of the things that you're doing that they do, like bringing in like a food truck and stuff, and that attracts a lot of folks that might want to eat. Passenger parking is not enough, and if you have folks, drink, I mean, you can find yourself having folks hanging out for a while. So you may want to look at the bus. If I don't close, do you have just a year in part-time, or do you have other people working? Because that's what you got to consider as well. Even in the Village of Boston Spa, which is way more walkable, but we'll still drive to things, and so I just am a little concerned.
I don't see there being more than like 2 or 3 employees. And those are all understandable comments.
We can certainly look at the parking as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and the things like if you do have food trucks, where would they go? You're probably going to need a paved or gravel surface somewhere in there.
We'll take all that into account, and we'll take a look at that.
And the other thing is the house currently on an on-site septic system, or
Yes.
is there, I mean, in the town center, we have a standard that says if you can hook up to available sewer and water services, you should hook up to that. I mean, is that an option you'd be looking to connect to? I think this is in Heritage Springs service area, isn't it?
Yeah, the sewer's in excess of 500 feet away.
Oh, it is 500 feet
So
away.
It's a significant
Okay,
ways,
all right.
and, the financial feasibility of that.
Okay.
It is in the heritage service area, but the sewer is in Deer Run.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. So in that part of the town center, we really don't have any accessible sewer right down Geyser Road. Okay. That's going to also limit what happens in the back there. You're going to have pipes and drainage tiles.
Septic system now is currently up here
Yeah.
under the outdoor.
Yep. Yep. It's all stuff to keep in mind. All right, Sophia, what next?
Hi there. Thank you for providing some of those additional things. I think it's helpful to understand kind of the full scope of what we're looking for. And I don't think that we could do that unless having that full presentation. So I think that's helpful. So my review was based on the concept of initially it just didn't incorporate the cafe component, but everything else is the same. You've had the benefit of having my review. I encouraged the board to ask for some details with regard to hours of operation so that we can adequately assess impact to neighbors. The applicant has indicated that they're aware of the surrounding neighboring area. I also wanted to just refer, dimensionally, I think there's a part of my review, and I apologize that I can't readily access it, but that indicates the placement of the courts relative to the commercial and adjacent uses, just as a matter of a framework, and as part of the consideration. But hours of operation, I think, will be critical to understanding impact to neighbors, obviously, and accompanying that, any screening or buffering that might be helpful as well. I also had a question about the parking count, acknowledging that the town center guidelines allows the planning board to deviate in order to support higher goals of the downtown development, but there being a practical element of wanting to make sure we have satisfactory infrastructure for the site, I continue to encourage everyone to look at the parking based on the proposed uses. I think that's the extent of my comments at that time. The applicant also provided a proposed lighting plan demonstrating a 0-foot candle light level at the property lines as well. That's all I have at this point in time.
What are you thinking about in terms of hours of operation?
Yep. So to start, I am thinking from 4 p.m. to around 9:30, and then not serving after 9:30 and then closing up at 10. That's kind of the goal, 4 to 10 in the evening. And then I think the cafe option, honestly, to me, is not a first year goal. It's essentially a second year goal because I'm figuring this out, but that is something that I'd like to see happen from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. In the morning. And yes.
That space would then again be used from 4 to 10 too.
Exactly, correct. Yep.
Because I guess based on what you're saying to me, yeah, you might have 8 volleyball players there, but I think you're envisioning that this is going to create an atmosphere that others will be coming. They'll be watching it, they'll be playing other games, they'll be socializing, they'll be.
Yes, that's correct.
So, I think you envision your vision you're painting is going to have a lot more than 8 people, ideally present. Because you're probably not it's going to be tough to survive on 8 people renting volleyball courts and occasionally drinking a little bit of beverage while they're playing volleyball.
Yes, exactly. So I think there's to be what the approach is that there's a couple of options, but starting off as a private club and then opening to the public, or opening to the public and starting to build that. So that is kind of dependent on, I guess, going the private route would probably be the better option for the smaller, but if we open right away to the public, I understand the request for more parking.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm seeing and if you look at our schedule of uses in the zoning thing, I'm seeing the potential for a bar being one of the uses, certainly a commercial recreational facility. We don't have a social club.
Yeah, I guess that was my terminology.
Well,
but
it could be a membership club.
Could be a membership club too.
Yes, and that's
That's
really
a special permit. Yep.
Yes.
That would be a special use permit, right?
Yep.
In the town center? Or the commercial recreation is not permitted as of right?
Special permit.
Special permit.
Special
So,
permit.
yeah, you're
They're
both going
both
to be special use
permit.
permits.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would, at this point suggest that you have another sit down with Sophia, kind of go through and figure out exactly what those uses are. Come up with some of the things, I think the comments we had, like dealing with the neighbors, you got a lot of deer run properties right on that property line. I'm sure they're going to be wondering what's happening here. So I don't know, is there any fencing currently up
There's
or
not.
screening?
I've actually talked to the neighbor directly behind me and they requested, said they prefer no fencing and just more trees. But my plan was to add fencing, but after talking to them, it made me reconsider. So I am open, and it'll depend. There are many people over there, so it will depend. But I am open to adding fencing. I think that would help with any noise that might happen. But I'm also, if the neighbors don't mind it and they prefer tree lines, this whole section is treed off and I haven't been planning to remove them. So there's already that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I just kind of go through that and figure out a little bit more on the layout and the detail. And then we're going to have to schedule a public hearing. I don't know. I don't think we're ready to go
We're
to
not
hearing
ready.
in a month. Let's,
Sorry, I was gonna offer, we can meet again and, visit these particular, things that we discussed today.
Is there any way you would consider working with your neighbor to the west there for parking space?
Yeah, so that is another option. So I've got this giant parking lot here that I haven't talked to him yet, but that is another option.
I meant the other way.
Oh, this
what
one?
are those uses?
Oh, yeah, actually,
The other one there, the big,
here?
no, the one
You mean to the left?
to the west. That's what I said, but she went to the east. So I was the one that's the mall.
Yes, exactly. I have not reached out to him yet, but that was,
Because
No.
it may work for you to have an outlet there if you can get an easement to his property. Might be cheaper than putting an entire parking lot in
I have,
or something of that nature. But he may say no. Who knows what he's gonna say?
yeah, I have been meaning to reach out to him, but I have not yet, but that was also, heard from the neighbors in the back that they've worked something out with him, so he's not closed off to ideas. But I should talk to him and that's a great point. My, I guess, assumption was there would be a little bit of overflow over there naturally, but it's probably best just to figure out hey, what does it look like if I were to use this?
Yeah.
And then that might help me. Yeah, that's a good point.
It also ties in with our connections in the town center area.
Okay.
Did you get enough direction from us at this point?
Yeah, I guess with just a parking lot that big, are there I know that, I guess, are there understandings that there could be overflow and that's fine, or it will always need approval from the owner of that lot?
I think it's a good idea to talk to your neighbor and be a good neighbor, because the assumption that you can have your customers on their property might challenge their tenants, and I think it's good practice to talk. So.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I had one more quick question. Do you have any plans for outdoor entertainment?
So I've considered that, yes. And so based on the fact that the neighbors are in the back, I will not be bringing any bands. My plan is up in here, I would like to have acoustic, laid back vibes. This is not a place for people to come and be loud and party, but there will be obviously recreation, but it's a laid back sort of chill space, that is combined with a laid back vibe, but also curating competition. So yes, I would like that, but it's not a make or break if, so.
Just want to understand.
Yes, of course.
Okay. So let's work on a more complete application and updating this, and then if you're back in January or whenever you can get back to us, let's
Okay, next
keep it
month, we'll
moving.
See you guys.
All right. All right. Is there any other business to be brought before the board tonight? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:44 PM. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We stand adjourned.